We're live, my friend. All right, good. Hey guys, what's up? Kind of an impromptu T-formation conversation. You try and go Friday nights. Real life got in the way, got tied up with some stuff. But I had to come in here because we did not have a Bears Broncos preview this week. Dr. Mason West is under the weather, so he missed his usual Thursday spot. I'm like, man, I got to get up here. Like I said, last minute thing. So I'm like, what can I do? I'm gonna reach out to my guy, Dave Scarbro. Coach Dave, Papa Scarbs on Twitter. You guys have heard him on my show before. He's a guest every year. I bring him on 3 or 4 times this season. Just kind of pick his brain. Dave, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good, Lester. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's so different because when I talk to you in this, you have a different.
Let me
it's different because we talk daily about the Bears. Like, you're my guy. We talk all the time. I've known you since high school. For those of you guys who don't know Coach Dave, he has coached youth/high school football for 20 plus years. He knows his stuff. If I have a question about X's and O's, I usually go to him. I try and know what I can when I can, but if I don't, man, you got to have a guy, and this is my guy. So, Dave, welcome to the show again.
Thanks, Lester. I always enjoy talking football with you. You're my go-to guy. I always call you and be like, Lester, you're my vent guy.
It's hard because the Bears suck right now, man. What the hell are we doing here? Like, it's so challenging to remain. Like, I do Bear and Balance with JB. We try and keep it even keel.
Love JB.
Like, man, what the hell is going on with this damn team? It's just tough. I've done the post-game show a couple times, and it's just like very challenging, very challenging. So just real quick, I haven't talked in a while on air anyway. I want to get in a little quick to Justin Fields, the Luke Getsy, the offensive stuff. We'll get in the Bears Broncos preview in a minute, but these two teams suck. Both 0-3, struggling. We'll get into that. I want to ask your take. So you had a chance to watch a lot of the Jenkins breakdowns, Kurt Warner's breakdown. I mean, JT O'Sullivan. Everybody's got a thought on Justin Fields.
Yeah, well, the common denominator that I've noticed by all the guys speaking was that this does not all fall on Justin Fields, and it does not all fall on Luke Getsy. And from my take that I've been watching, that's what I see also. I think that there's things that Justin is struggling with, and then there's things that we're not doing to help him in the scheme of things. We're not being very sophisticated, but then again, we go back to the Jenkins thing we were watching, and I think I told you this before he even made the video about the whole sale concept thing. That I'm like, man,
week one miss, yeah.
And it's not only week one; he's missed it a few times. You know what I mean? And I was telling you, I'm like, man, this is a staple high school. Like, that's a high school concept. And I'm not trying to dog on Justin Fields and pile on. I'm just saying that when you're in the NFL, you can't. I guarantee you this. We were going to talk about Russell Wilson a little bit too. Russell Wilson's not missing that concept.
No.
You know what I mean? And an experienced quarterback's not going to miss that concept. And I'm not sure what Getsy can do, because I think, this is my personal opinion, I think that he's trying to simplify the offense. And in simplifying it, he's making it easier to defend, which is a compound issue, as you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, like you said, I think he is trying to make things a little simpler. He's trying to cut down some of the reads. The one thing I want to see him do is, and I've talked about it, a lot, ad nauseum, so much stuff, is we are not seeing some of the stuff that we saw last year. Yeah, they only won 3 games a season ago. But where is some of the outside zone bootleg concepts that we saw so prevalent in this style of offense? Now, look, Getsy never worked with Shanahan specifically, but he's been schooled in that style of offense because of his time with LaFleur. He has some time with West Coast concepts with Mike McCarthy. He did some run pass option stuff, back in his college days too, when he was the OC there. So, but we're not seeing it. If you had to say, what is Luke Getsy's identity as an offensive play caller this season, what would you call it?
Lester, and I'm not
PG-13.
Yeah. I'm not being funny. I mean, it's basic, bland. Like, there's nothing off of there. It's incoherent. I would say is because it makes no sense. You know this as a play caller and as someone who's coached too. That like you said, the whole Shanahan quote system is based off the outside zone stretch. Boot away action passes. We haven't seen much of that. I did notice early. I forgot the game that it was where they did try to do a little boot action, but the defense knew exactly what it was. So I don't know if it was obvious that they were doing it. And teams. We talk about this. There's an old saying that like everyone's good the first time they go around the NFL, and then the second time, once people get film on you and figure out who you are, the defensive coordinators in this league are good. They get paid, big money to make these adjustments and understand get in the mind of the offensive coordinator and understand what he's trying to do. So, you're kind of playing a chess game. And as of right now, we're not doing a good job countering or having something we can hang our hat on that we believe in to be able to build off of.
I like to use the chess game analogy, which it's true. I mean, it's like offense does this, defense does this. Offense does this, defense does this. What I'm not seeing, though, I'm not seeing Luke Getsy's first move. I'm not seeing him try to dictate. I'm seeing him reacting. It's like he's almost playing passively, where it's like, you know what? Like I said, last year was a terrible record, but there was a stretch there where things were clicking. Why doesn't Luke Getsy try and do that? Make a defense stop you. You know what? I understand there's some problems with the O-line, but, let them get downhill. Let them run the ball. Khalil Herbert, man, this isn't the same Khalil Herbert we saw last year. Roshan Johnson, he looks good. And then even got Deonta Foreman, who's, has been inactive the last couple of weeks. But, they have enough running backs where they can pummel a defensive line and then work off that. And that's not what's happening with Luke Getsy. His offense has been very bland, very basic. So how much is that Justin Fields in regression? How much is that Justin Fields is in his head being overcoached, which we heard him allude to? Or is it a combination of everything?
I think this is my kind of take on it, is the Bears in every scenario are in like a catch-22 kind of thing. Because Justin Fields' biggest strength is that he's a good dude. He's elite throwing the ball deep. I don't care. I will die on the hill, and he's an elite deep ball thrower. But the offensive coordinator does not trust the offensive line enough to call deep shot plays and things that make. Yeah, that to me, that's one of the biggest things is they can't even give this kid his strength play because they can't protect it. And now I think that has a lot to do with injury, and people can dog them for not, going out and overspending for some of these offensive linemen that were available. But I like what I like what they're doing. I just think they're beat up. First of all, they weren't world beaters on the offensive line, and then you add the massive injuries they've had on the interior where they weren't strong anyway. I mean, it's a catch-22 because Justin's strength is the deep ball, stretching the defense vertically, and then he can stretch the defense by being able to take off and run. So, it puts the defense a lot of pressure. I think they're just in a box right now, and be honest, it's very hard to get out of that box when you're in that catch-22 situation.
Yeah, the numbers dictate his rookie year. As much as we didn't like what Nagy was doing here, we all knew Nagy was just a lame duck waiting to go.
Dink dunker.
We did see the deep ball numbers showed that's something he thrived at. I think he was top 5 in all the deep ball analytics his rookie year. And then, we saw a little bit of that last year, just not as much. And yeah, part of it's the pass pro. And, like we talk all the time, pass protection is ultimately the quarterback's responsibility. He's missing some blitz stuff. Maybe he's not shifting things. Maybe he's not shifting the line properly. I know it's not his call initially, but at the end of the day, before that ball is snapped, he's got to get his guy set. And one thing me and you've talked about quite a bit is why don't the Bears ever take, if they're in a shotgun, hey, Khalil Herbert, you're here to my left, but I know there's a few that are coming to the right. Let me move you pre-snap. We don't see this happening. Is it because Justin Fields maybe is not comfortable in the offense? I mean, I can't imagine after playing, 3 years in, that's not something he's allowed to do.
You know, Lester,
What the
this
hell's
comes
happening?
down this comes down to just offensive preference. I mean, I don't get it either. You saw who's the one quarterback? We saw the one quarterback like put his guy up in the B gap
Oh, that was
before
the primetime game. That was Matt Stafford. He's like,
yeah, he
this
puts the
guy's
guy in
coming.
the yeah,
Yeah,
puts him
block
in
him.
the B gap. I don't care. You know, and I don't get it either. It's are you trying to keep a run pass like hey, we don't want to tip off what we're doing. Dude, you're passing. Who cares? It's not like you're a surprise. Like, hey, it's taking that big of a surprise away. I don't get it. I think it's just a preference thing for offenses. I don't know. I don't know why guys won't do that. We were watching one clip we were talking about earlier where the kid they motioned the tight end and no one went with him, so it gave the defense a numbers advantage and it was a blitz right off the edge. He's got to recognize stuff like that, and I don't. That's the stuff I put on him because you and I talked about it. They had a hot route. A lot of people think a hot is only a slant or a hitch or something. A hot route is a quick out. He had a quick out right into that pressure, and he just was oblivious of the numbers it looked like on the line.
Yeah, it was the last sack they gave up against the Chiefs. I broke it down. I called you about that one because I was wondering about the design myself and wondering why he wasn't making that play. And like you said,
It's a side adjustment.
A lot of people see a hot, and it's some of that's on the receiver, right? Sometimes he has an option route, but sometimes not every play has an option built in. So if the blitz is coming and you have like you said, the speed out was there, the receiver probably thought it's fine. The coach probably thought that's fine, but it wasn't thrown in. So that's a Justin Fields issue. And I still have hope that I think he can come out of this. It's just hard to bet against him, man. After what he went through at Ohio State, seeing what he did there, seeing him kind of overcome a lot of adversity with some stuff that's happened, the first couple of years of his career. It's painful seeing him a shell of the guy that we think he's supposed to be.
Lester, we talked about this a little this week in our personal conversation. To me, it comes down to I don't think, and I've been a Bear fan going back to Avellini. Really,
you're dating yourself, man.
Going back, man. That's when I first started watching the Bears. I was a little kid, 7 years old. But to me, our organization has never had a guy. Or, we've always been, even when the 85 Bears and it was the peak of the organization, they were a good offensive football team, like a solid, high, mid to high level offense. But it was a different game back then. The Bears have never had a coordinator or a quarterback coach that understood the modern passing game. It's like we're still stuck in the stone age of, we play great defense, we run the ball, and that's good. That's solid football, but that is not how you're going to win in the NFL nowadays. And I get into discussions with my brother and his friends. My brother played linebacker in college, and he's a smart guy, but he's a meatball like on that, where he would be a defensive head coach. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, it's soft if you're throwing the ball all over the place. And I'm like, well, it's kind of the game now, guys. And we get into that discussion. And I just don't see the Bears getting into the modern NFL. We've never had anyone like that. And I loved the hire of Eberflus, but I'm starting to trend in. Yeah, Nagy was a clown. We'll admit that. But that's who you need. You need some kind of guy who has a concept in a base in offensive football. That's just the modern NFL now. It's not a defensive league.
Yeah, that's definitely a conversation we've had several times, on our personal stuff. That's a wider organization conversation. So I'm going to take a really quick break for the podcast side of things, and let's get into there's a game tomorrow. So let's get into that game right after the break.
Yeah.
All right, my friend, we are back. I'm with Coach Dave Scarbro. He's one of my longest friends. I've known him since high school. He's coached the youth to high school level for 20 plus years. Coach with former Bear Glenn Kozlowski. You're on 3 different high school staffs with him, or 2?
Yeah, that's my mentor, big mentor guy. Him, and he's in that Harbaugh
Dicka
Yes.
school, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old school. So you got to like kind of fight some of those meatball instincts to get more
Oh
money.
yeah,
But Kaz was BYU, man. That was like throwing all over the place.
that's
Yeah.
yeah. That 84. He was on the 84 BYU national champions. I know you know that, but in the modern West Coast offense, Bill Walsh used to come. Bill Walsh used to come to the spring practices for BYU, and actually their offenses were identical except for the terminology.
Okay. All right, let's jump into this quick thing. I always talk about the injury report because the injury designations come out on Friday afternoon. The Bears, besides what we're going to talk about really quick here, they put Josh Blackwell, their backup nickelback, on IR. So he is gone for a minimum of 4 games with a hamstring injury, but also ruled out for the Bears cornerback, Jalen Johnson, safety, Eddie Jackson, both ruled out. Travis Homer, backup running back, Seamer, he is questionable with a ankle injury. He's limited, though. I think he may give it a go. If not, though, like we talked about, they got Deonta Foreman as their number 3 back they can kind of bring in here. So the Bears are missing, of course, Kyler Gordon, starting nickel, backup nickel. So Greg Stroman's going to start at nickel. We're also talking about Elijah Hicks now is going to be starting in at safety next to Jaquan Brisker, who has had some injury issues himself. And then at cornerback, we got rookie Tyreek Stevenson and the other rookie Terrell Smith on the other side now. So Russell Wilson is a vet, man. I know a lot of fans in around the NFL want to knock him, or Russ is cooked, but he's still a veteran. His skills have not diminished that much. He was in a bad situation with the Broncos last year. Now he's got Sean Payton, offensive genius, offensive guru.
Yes.
The Broncos are winless, but Wilson has not looked that bad this year. How will a veteran like Russell Wilson attack the Chicago secondary, especially if there is no pass rush?
You hit it right on the head. That's the first thing I was going to say to you. The Bears are a coverage-orientated defense, as we see as the stats have played out. And it's what it is. We don't have a pass rush, and whenever you give a veteran quarterback the time that Russell's going to have, I guarantee you they're not going to get a pass rush in this game. In my opinion, if I had to handicap it, and you give that guy enough time, we're talking about in zone defenses, your defense when you're playing in zone defense is getting pressure on the quarterback, getting him off his spot, not making him comfortable. If he knows what you're in and he has time, if he doesn't know what you're in and you give him enough time, a veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson has seen it all. You know what I mean? You're not fooling him with nothing. And if he has time to sit back there and diagnose what you're doing, it's literally like a 7-on-7 drill. For anyone who's familiar with that, it's a drill where you just don't have any Russians, just receivers on defensive backs.
Yeah,
it's going to get ugly.
It's going to get ugly. I'm afraid that, like you said, the pass rush is a problem. But I did a Broncos show earlier this week, so I was talking to the guy who obviously covers Denver, and now he's a little nervous about this game because he says their defense sucks so bad. Which is true. But this is what he said about their O-line. They give up a lot of interior pressure. Their guards and their center have not been playing very good inside. I know they got Christian Berry, who was on the injury report earlier this week, but he's been fine. But they got some issues up front. The Bears have not had much of a pass rush, but maybe this is the Andrew Billings breakout game. He has been one of the Bears' bright spots as far as getting a push. He just can't get home because it's not his game. But if you get in Russell Wilson's face enough, you get him off the spot enough, you don't let him sit there, like you said.
Then he's mobile, and he's pretty good mobile too.
He is mobile, but then maybe now that there's an actual push at the pocket, maybe Yannick Ngakoue can get home. Maybe Dominic Robinson can do something for the first time since last year's Week 1. It would be nice to see.
I am waiting for one of the young guys to pop inside. I'm waiting on Dexter or Pickett. One of those guys has to pop for this team to start to get in the ballpark of a pass rush, because this, Lester, in the system that Coach Eberflus runs, the 4-3 coverage based defense that he runs, the engine of that thing is the 3 technique. And if your 3 tech is not going. And Billings is a one tech, so he's more of a block eater and more, more in the run game. But someone has to. I'm sorry, I get passionate about this part. Someone has to step up. Someone's got to be that three technique where they're like, hey, we got to worry about this. We got to slide the protection to that side, and that'll open up your one-on-ones. Because Ngakwe he's a good pro, so he's good and solid. So he if you get him one-on-one, he'll get pressure. But the whole thing to me is we've not had that interior push in the pocket. And that's, and like you said, Billings has been the best one of it, but that's not his calling card or what he's known for in the NFL. They drafted those kids in the middle because they need that interior pass rush, and that's what's been missing, in my opinion.
I'm glad you mentioned Javon Dexter because, when you go back and watch the All-22 with him, he pops. He's a physical dude. He's big and strong. His technique's a little sloppy at times. He gets a little high at times, which is common from a young tackle
rookie.
But he's a guy I believe that will eventually click and come around. He's got to work on a counter. Right now, he's got the bull rush. Obviously, he's a strong dude. I mean, him and Billings both got the bull rush. That's why I said maybe this is the week when you got Billings and you got Dexter making that push. Justin Jones, the guy they signed last year to be the 3 tech, and he disappointed last year. He was their best D lineman a year ago, but that's a very low bar when you got, I can't remember those guys they had last year, but this year he hasn't really done much.
That guy's been horrendous in the run game too, man. Like he's not a good run defender, I don't get it.
Washed out.
I don't get it. Yeah. At this point, I don't get it. You're what? We're 0-3, whatever. Dude, play the young guys. Let's get them reps. I mean, I understand the Billings thing. He's going to help you on early downs. In passing downs, hey, Jones, come sit on the bench with me and let's see what these young guys can develop. Because at some point, if you're not really playing super high level, what's the point of keeping a more talented guy on the sidelines? You're not giving much more than he would give if you get what I'm saying, by your experience or whatever.
Yeah, the other free agent the Bears got this year, of course, DeMarcus Walker, defensive end, but who has got the size and the ability to kick inside the tackle. We've seen that this year, but he hasn't flashed either. He's an effort player. The problem is the effort's not getting home this year. I mean, but you see him do some things, but he's just not making plays, which is something you could talk about for the whole defense as a whole. Is
missing in action. Yeah,
it's rough, it's brutal. But maybe this is their get right game. We hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is the Broncos get right game." Yeah, maybe it's the Bears get right game on defense. Maybe some of those interior guys get that push. Maybe Ngakwe can get stuff. A lot of maybes, a lot of ifs. As Bears fans, that's all we got to go on right now. But it's tough, especially with the veteran. But let's flip to the other side here. So we talked a little bit about earlier about what the Bears got to do on offense. I think it's safe to say if they do what they've done the last 3 weeks, it ain't gonna click. Something's got to give. Something's got to give.
Right.
And like we both have talked about more boots, more rolls. Cut the field in half, make the game easier. We saw Fields run more last week. I want to see more of that this week.
Yeah, and this is bad on bad, so this is going to be pretty interesting to watch. The Broncos, gave up the 70 points last week, and they're not feeling too hot about themselves, and we know what we've been on offense, so. This is like who's going to bring the little heavier pillow to the pillow fight.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's tough. Like for me, it comes down to the quarterback play, and usually if two teams are equal, in this case they're both equally bad. Who has the better quarterback? It's Wilson right now, and then the other one you look at who has the better coaching staff, and I think by far, you got to say who's going to win this chess match. Peyton or Eberflus, and I got to go with Peyton. This is why I'm taking the Broncos this week. It hurts to do.
I know.
So, do you think the Bears have any chance at this one?
I mean, it's the NFL, so it's the NFL. You always got a chance. I mean, but what I'm with you. I just don't. I don't, man, dude. I hate to say this because it's so early in the season. I'm kind of out on. I'm out on those guys, man. Like I'm talking about the coaching
Coaches.
staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out on them, man. I just don't. I don't know if they have the answers. You know what I mean? And dude, I've been watching the Bears. You know this a long time. This is the earliest I think I've ever been out on a Bears team. And what I think part of the reason was this is my I'm gonna get a little spiel here. This is what my I think this is what's disappointing and why it's so painful to watch this, particularly as a Bears fan. So you have Ryan Poles, he comes in, he hires this guy. It's not like he has not given the coach everything he's asked for. You know what I mean? We went out and how many second round draft picks are we invested on the defense?
Yeah.
How many free agents have we invested on the defense? How many, you know what I mean? How many things have we given that was supposed to be like, all right, I need this. And for you to sit there and still be a top three worst defense in the NFL, it's an indictment on the coach. And I'm not I don't like doing that, throwing coaches under the bus or whatever. But it's when you see these results, it's kind of got to be that. And yes, there's been injuries. Yes, there's been, players not playing well. But for you to be this bad with all of that, it's really eye opening and shocking. And I don't know, man. It's just I can't find a lot to be positive, and I mean, the Bears, they're going to win the game this year because the NFL, somebody shows up sleepwalking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the NFL. Any given Sunday, it's a true statement. So could they win this weekend? Sure, they could. They really could. I'm just hoping they if they do lose, I'm hoping to see like some kind of nugget of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
For me, it's like if you're going to go, we talked about earlier, this day and age, you got to have an offensive guy. So if you're going to go buck the trend and go with a defensive head coach, then your defense better show some improvement and show a sign of life. And right now, this defense has no pulse. It seems to have regressed, even though you got more talent around it, which is the offense too. So, but yeah, I mean, I think on that note, I think we're gonna shut this puppy down. Dave, I want to appreciate you coming in. You got one more point. What do you got? What do you got?
One more point. I think it cannot be understated how much the injury to Kyler Gordon has hurt their defense too. That's a huge piece to this defense. And I can't think it cannot be understated enough. It doesn't cover up everything, but that's like their key piece is missing off their defense. So maybe that's a little ray of light we can look forward to.
Yeah, he's due to come off IR if his hand is healed enough. He did have surgery after the Packers game. So if he's able to come off IR, it'll be after their Thursday night against Washington. So the following week. Tevin Jenkins is due to come off IR after this game if he's able to. So they're getting a couple guys back, a couple key pieces of that team, but the coaching staff's got to change. The stubbornness we're seeing from them, the inflexibility, you got to put your guys in a better situation. So, but this is fun, man. We got to do this more often on air.
Always,
we always do this.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate you guys checking in here. Second City Gridiron. Make sure you guys stick with us. We have got post-game show coming up after the game. Bill Zimmerman. And I believe this week he has Kyrie Thompson guesting with him. Of course, I'll be back here on the channel, Barren Balanced with JB. Dr. Mason West will be back in his normal spot. Bill Zimmerman's Bears banter. Taylor Doll's Making Monsters. She just had a profile with Tyree Carter. She talked to his high school football coach. Kind of cool hearing the story, especially when a team's bad. You got to find those little things to root for. So look, she just talked about Billings. She had Billings episode 2 weeks ago. To Tyree Carter this week. So it's kind of good to hear these stories. Then I will also be media casting the Bears Broncos game tomorrow on the Pro Sports Fan app. We did the Packers game, was kind of interesting. It was the first one. The way there's 3 of Bears teams. I'll be back with it this week tomorrow. So if you got Apple Play, Google. It's on both apps now. Get the app for the phone. Pro sports fans, I'll be talking the game. Come and join us because you can jump in the chat with us. You can jump on air with us too. We'll do like people come in and talk. So Pro Sports Fans app. That's it. For Coach Dave, for me, until next time, bear down, my friends.
Bear down.